Title: The Witch of Hollow Creek. In the small, quiet town of Hollow Creek, rumors whispered of a woman who lived deep in the woods. She was known only as the Witch, a figure cloaked in mystery and fear. No one had seen her for decades, but children would disappear from the nearby village every few months, never to be heard from again. 3 teenagers, Lily, Mark, and Sam, had grown up hearing these stories, but to them it was all just superstition. At least, that was until the night they dared to venture into the woods. Lily, the brave and curious one, had always been fascinated by the idea of magic. Mark was skeptical, constantly rolling his eyes at the ghost stories, while Sam, the quiet one, had his doubts but followed along out of loyalty to his friends. The 3 of them made a pact to explore the woods that night, determined to uncover the truth. As they walked through the thick, eerie forest, the air grew colder, and a strange silence seemed to envelope them. The wind howled through the trees, and a pungent odor lingered in the air, like rotting meat and decay. They came upon a clearing, and in the center stood a crooked old cottage, its windows dark, and smoke curling from the chimney. "Is this the witch's house?" Sam whispered, his voice trembling. Before anyone could answer, a cold, rasping voice echoed through the clearing. "You've come at last," it croaked. The door to the cottage creaked open, revealing an old woman hunched over a cane, her long gray hair tangled and wild. Her eyes gleamed with an unnatural brightness, as if she had seen countless years pass by without a single ounce of compassion. "Come inside," she beckoned, her voice sweet like honey, yet there was an underlying venom that sent a chill down their spines. Lily, ever the brave one, led the way inside, with Mark and Sam reluctantly following. The room was dimly lit by candles, casting strange shadows on the walls. The smell of herbs and something far worse, something metallic, filled the air. "Sit," the witch commanded, and they obeyed, their bodies heavy with a strange sense of unease. As the witch moved to a cauldron bubbling in the corner, she smiled wickedly. "I know what you seek. You want to know the truth about the children who went missing, and why they never came back." Her voice dropped into a whisper. "They came to me, just as you have, hungry, lost, and desperate for something they couldn't find anywhere else. And in return, I gave them what they needed." Lily's eyes widened. What did you do to them?" The witch's smile grew wider, revealing yellow, decayed teeth. "I fed them," she hissed. "Fed them until they were too weak to resist. Then I ate them. Their fear, their pain. It was the most delicious thing I've ever tasted." The room seemed to grow darker, the shadows stretching across the walls like long, skeletal hands. Mark stood up suddenly, his legs unsteady. "This is insane," he muttered. "We need to leave. Now." But before they could move, the witch's voice turned icy. "You're not going anywhere." With a flick of her wrist, the door slammed shut, and the windows rattled. A thick, fog-like mist seeped from the cracks in the walls, suffocating them with its toxic grip. The witch chanted in a language they couldn't understand, and a wave of dizziness washed over the 3 teens. Their bodies felt heavy, their thoughts clouded. But then, Lily remembered something her grandmother had once told her about witches. "Witches feed on fear," she muttered under her breath. Mark, his head spinning, grabbed her arm. "What are you talking about?" "I don't know," she replied, but she had a feeling. "If we stop being afraid, we can fight back." They gathered every ounce of courage they had left. The witch's cackles echoed around them as she stepped closer, her breath foul and suffocating. "You think you can escape me? You think you can defeat me? You're just children." But Lily wasn't a child anymore. She stood up tall, eyes blazing. "We're not afraid of you." Mark and Sam nodded, finding their own strength. With a collective roar, they lunged toward the witch, knocking her backward into the cauldron. The pot of boiling liquid spilled onto the floor, and the witch screamed in agony as the concoction burned her skin. In the chaos, Sam spotted a dark, ancient-looking book lying on a table in the corner. It was the source of her power. With a swift motion, he grabbed it, tearing out the pages that detailed the witch's spells. As the witch writhed on the floor, her once towering form shrinking before their eyes, she let out a final, desperate scream. "You fools! You'll never escape the curse!" The three teens, panting and covered in sweat, stood together, watching as the witch disintegrated into a cloud of dust, leaving only a faint smell of sulfur behind. The fog lifted, the door opened, and the air seemed to return to normal. They stumbled outside, breathing in the fresh air, as the sun began to rise in the distance. The witch was gone, but they knew, somewhere deep down, that evil never truly disappears. It only waits, lurking in the shadows, ready to return. And they had made a vow. If it ever did, they would be ready to fight again.